To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to rend, and a time to sow. A time to keep silent, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time of war, and a time of peace. Hello, I'm Joe Roberts, and this is the Mayfield Friday Time. I've been reading from Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 through 8. Well, we say hello again to you. We are a few minutes late because of some technical difficulties before we went on the air, but we are all ready and up and going now. This is the reason we have to have our technician and our producer on hand all of the time, because he knows how to he knows how to work all of these things. He's not too happy right now, but anyway, we finally got everything going and on the air. If I was being the producer today, I'm afraid that we would still be trying to get on the air, brother. All right. Well, we have our co-host with us and our producer and our technician with us today. So we're full staff on the program this evening. We got a lot of things to discuss this evening. And first, I want to say we want to welcome you. And we do want to say that our phone line is up and open, and that's 615-219-9926. And also Skype is IMBR is the handle there, and you can contact us either way. And we look forward to hearing from you. Our co-host is here, and I'm going to, first of all, let him give us a little overview of Sunday morning sermon.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it Sunday morning. The subject will be the product of a man, out of Proverbs 23:7. I'm not going to go into too much with this, but I'm going to deal with this area that a man is what he thinks about all day long. Ralph Waldo Emerson said that, and so the question is what kind of person does that make an individual? Whatever he thinks about. And of course, my points are the mind must be renewed, it must be controlled, it must be clean, and it must be saturated. Please tune in Sunday morning if at all possible. One of the subjects that I'm going to deal with is the area of, in America, how we've been dumbed down with history. We've been dumbed down politics. We've been dumbed down when I say technology. Technology is a good thing, but when technology becomes a replacement for the influence of parents, then we dumb down. I mean, it's something, I'm not going to go too much detail, but I want to, oh man. But I got thinking, you don't even have to go to the library anymore.
Right.
You don't have to. I mean, all you got to do is click on something, and you can't tell whether the information is true or not.
That's true.
But then, and of course, I'll deal with that Sunday, so please tune in. But the other area where we've been dumbed down, which is killing us, is the area of Christianity. Mm-hmm. Brother Joe, I was thinking about this, and I told you that Sunday my sermon's going to be deeper into theology. But what has happened over the years, I found out that it's been said that 65% of Americans claim to be members of a church, but there's and of course, since the 60s, it's been quite a bit less. And the traditions in churches have been changed to adhere to the generation. So when you've got a generation that has been grown up without going to church, then many churches begin to, I would say, soften their sermons so as not to offend anybody. And so when they start hearing good, deep theology, they don't want to hear it. They're bored with it. Mm-hmm. I'm going to, I'll tell you what is interesting. When I got thinking about it, the area of how much little bit of time is spent really studying God's Word. So I want to say quite a bit of that for Sunday. What does it mean when he says renew your mind? You see a lot of my notes in there, and then what it means to control your mind. Let this mind be in you. I'm excited about it. I really am. So what, brother? I get the pink one. A change for okay. Here we go. Is that better? Whoa, son. Good grief, Brother Jamie. What did you do to me, son? We can hear you now. Oh, okay, there you go. But anyway, please tune in Sunday. You need to, and it's not because of me, but...
See, I told you to behave yourself,
I'm
or he'll
trying.
give you the pink mic.
I'm trying.
And
well,
now
give me the
it.
orange cover. No, that's fine. I told him, I said, we need to get a bright green one to match my car. I said, no way.
No.
We're not going there, right?
We're not going there.
Okay. But anyway.
He still wants me to put that bright green monstrosity on the web so y'all can see it. I firmly believe if we did that, we would run people away instead of trying to bring them to our facility, brother.
Well, you know,
they'd be like, that thing sits out front? We ain't going there.
well, Jamie, you know what I said about why I drive the Mustang?
I know, and I still disagree.
But I got to share it with our radio audience. I said I drive the Mustang. I'll be 70 years old in 4 years. And so I don't want old age to catch up with me. And then I got thinking about, at least I can hope, but it's still faster than a walker. So, I'm doing pretty good.
I said you needed something faster than that.
Oh, yeah, so. But, on a serious note, we have really dumbed down from pulpits. They're trying to do a crowd, and they don't even know theology. The pastors aren't studying.
Well, here's the thing about it, too, is that too many churches are trying to align themselves with the culture.
Yes,
Our culture.
Absolutely.
And our culture is now so far away from God that you need a telescope to find them. They're so far out in left field now. So when churches begin to align themselves with our culture,
yes,
we are already gone.
Oh, yeah. You know what's interesting, and as you said that, and I got thinking about it, for the most part, the average church member could not, I mean, even in Baptist church, couldn't tell you where it's found, where the church was established, where it was organized.
True.
They could not tell you where, about what are the first 5 books of the Bible, and they probably could not even tell you, for the most part, what chapter in what book is the 10 Commandments. Simple little things.
Right.
Years ago, kids would learn the books of the Bible by a little song. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts, and they don't do that anymore.
Correct.
They don't do that anymore. And so I'll be dealing with that Sunday morning. And it's, oh my goodness. And one of the points is Christianity's shallow sermons to cater to a changing generation. Very little, if any, doctrine based on the Bible. And so what happens with these people that are looking for a church, they've not been raised in some good doctrine. They come and hear it. They can't sit through it. But yet, here's what's interesting. I found this out. Do you know how long the average, for them to play how much time a football is in play? It's not 3 hours. It's only about 11 minutes, but with them stopping commercials, and people will sit 3.5 hours to watch a stupid ball go back and forth, and yet they can't sit for a 30-minute sermon. Something's wrong. Something is definitely wrong. The average, I put some average times. Even a movie, 2 hours long, a movie. You don't go anywhere. And I'll be dogged if they're going to get up to go to the bathroom because they don't want to miss something. But my goodness, they can't.
Commercials come along.
So what?
Wait till commercials come along.
Oh, yeah. You know what? It's just, and my goodness, I'm waiting for Sunday. I cannot wait for Sunday. But I will say this, as pastor of Mayfield Dry Baptist Church, I've been so thankful that they have given me time to work, because I'm ready to get back to spending, hours and hours getting ready for Sunday, because that's what pastors are supposed to do. And I miss that. But yet you can't get people to spend 30 minutes just to read the Bible. That's a sad commentary.
That's true. Very true. Well, now we've got a whole list of things that we want to get into. You and I were discussing this
Yes.
earlier this week.
Yes.
And we felt like that's for me. Another one.
Oh, you get to change too, don't you?
Looks that way. But we'll see here. Which one am I on that one now? All right. Well, our producer's switching out on us here. First one thing and then another. Okay. You may have to turn that one up because I can't get down close enough to that one. Okay. But now we were talking
That
about.
should sound a little better. Sorry, I
Yeah.
apologize.
Okay. Well, anyway, I'm glad you're doing that, not me.
That's my job. That's what I do.
That's your job. Yes, sir. All right. Earlier in the week, Pastor Bernie and I were talking about this COVID thing and how that it's honestly, it's just getting crazier
Yes.
as
yes.
it goes along. But we were talking about Hillsdale College. Hillsdale College is a very conservative college that publishes a paper called Imprentice, and it's a printed version. And I usually get an email from them, reports right along when they send out things, but I don't get the printed one. But lead out on this, and let's discuss what we found here.
Well, actually, before we get into even the COVID, and this is not your opinion, this is not my opinion, Brother Joe. So this is one time when you would hear the term silence is golden. Mm-hmm. This is not golden. In other words, we can't be silent on these issues.
Yes.
It was just as we have, and I've heard this, my sister didn't hear this, and you heard it, where our quote-unquote president-elect made a statement, and some of you out there have probably never heard it.
I got to say this. He's not the president.
Not yet. Not yet. Okay.
Till
Okay.
December 14th, he cannot be the president.
There you go. Okay. Thank you, brother.
That's a factual statement.
But I will say this: the one who wants to be.
Oh, I agree with you there.
Okay,
I agree
okay.
with you there, and I'm not trying to take away whoever
know,
it might
thank
be.
you, brother.
But yeah.
And I'm not saying he is, but we had said some time ago that this particular individual that was running with Kamala Harris, and I'm just giving you what we have heard, but it's not being broadcast. And he made a statement, and I want to quote him, and that is Joe Biden. So we're not putting anything that's not quoted. So But anyway, he made a statement, and we said that if he would be elected, it wouldn't be about him, it would be about her becoming. But he made this statement back in December the 2nd, 2020. It didn't make the news.
Right. Let me say this before you go on with that.
Yes.
We had discussed this very thing on this program.
Yes.
We
yes.
said that that's what would happen.
Exactly.
So go ahead, brother.
So this is what he said. So Joe Biden is asked about his disagreements with Kamala Harris on certain issues. And this is what he said, and I quote, and I had watched him say this. This was not made up. You can find it if you look hard enough. But he said this. He said, like I told Barack, if I reach something where there's a fundamental disagreement we have based on a moral principle, I'll develop some disease and say I have to resign, unquote. We said this was going to go on.
Yes, we did.
And so this is not, what we're giving you is not our medical opinion. It's not our political opinion. We're just giving you what is out there. And
right.
And so all you have to do is look at, you might not like what we said, but just watch and see what happens. I'm still praying for the best. So anyway, on the area of this COVID, and this is coming from the professor of medicine at Stanford University. He has both a medical MD and a PhD in economics. He's done research. He's also a research associate at the National Bureau of Economics Research, a senior fellow at the Stanford Institute for Economy Policy. He also works with health and aging. And so this information is what he has put. Of course, they're not telling you this.
Right.
So basically, we just
they are not. That's the media.
They're not, and it's a type of censorship, brother, which is it's making it dangerous. But anyway, he said this. He said a lot of fear and confusion has resulted from failing to understand the difference. And he said this. He said, and of course he went through a lot of things, but he said those who talk about the economic harms of the lockdowns are accused of being heartless. Economic considerations are nothing compared to saving lives, they're told. So I'm not going to talk about the economic effects. I'm going to talk about the effects on health, beginning with the UN estimate that 130 million additional people will starve this year as a result of the economic damage from the lockdowns.
You know, the key word there is additional.
Additional. He goes on a little bit further, and he said this, that one of the things, the deadliness of the lockdowns is this. The initial rationale for lockdowns was that slowing the spread of the disease would prevent hospitals from being overwhelmed. It became clear before long that this was not the worry. In the U.S. and in most of the world, hospitals were never at risk of being overwhelmed, yet lockdowns were kept in place. And this is turning out to have deadly effects. Now he goes on, here are some of them. And he said this, he said, so I'm not going to talk about the economic effects. He's talking about the health effects. Here goes. He said, in the last 20 years, we've lifted 1 billion people worldwide out of poverty. This year, we're reversing that progress to the extent it bears repeating, that an estimated 130 million more people will starve. Another result of the lockdowns is that people stop bringing their children in for immunizations against diseases like diphtheria, pertussis, that's whooping cough, and polio, because they had been led to fear COVID more than they feared these more deadly diseases. Large numbers of Americans, even though they had cancer and needed chemotherapy, didn't come in for treatment because they were more afraid of COVID than cancer.
Right.
Others have skipped recommended cancer screenings. We're going to see a rise in cancer and cancer death rates as a consequence. We're also going to see a higher number of deaths from diabetes due to people missing their diabetic monitoring. In June of this year, CDC survey found that 1 in 4 adults between 18 and 24 had seriously considered suicide. He said, we're meant to be a company with one another, and it's absurding that the lockdowns have had a psychological effects that they have had, especially among young adults and children who have been denied such needed socialization. In effect, what we've been doing is requiring young people to bear the burden of controlling the disease from which they face little to no risk. This is entirely backward from the right approach.
Mm-hmm.
He said this further. He said, those who are not vulnerable should immediately be allowed to resume life as normal. Simple hygiene measures, such as hand washing and staying at home when the sick should have practiced by sick should have practiced by everyone to reduce the herd immunity threshold. And by the way, herd immunity is the big answer.
Mm-hmm.
But he goes on further, and he said restaurants and other business should open. Arts, music, sports, and other cultural activities should resume. People who are more risk may participate if they wish, but society as a whole enjoys protection conferred upon the vulnerable by those who have built up herd immunity. First, herd immunity is not a strategy, it's a biological fact that applies to most infectious diseases. Even when we come up with a vaccine, we will be relying on herd immunity and an end point for this epidemic. The vaccine will help, but herd immunity is what will bring it to an end.
Well, it has to run its course, and that's the way with
Yes.
with flu and these viral infections. First one thing and another, they have to. The course has to be run.
Yes.
And they will eventually die out. But
Yes.
even though the coronavirus itself has been around for a long
Yes.
time,
Yes.
this particular phase of it, I guess you would say, or strain of it would be better, hasn't existed before. And so, yeah, it's something entirely new, but the basic coronavirus has been around.
Yes.
It's just been manipulated, I think.
Let me add something to this, brother. We've and people need to know this. With what's going on is forcing people to put their head in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Titanic effect. If you remember historically, they told people the Titanic can't sink.
Right.
It's unsinkable. But yet what they did was they removed a lot of lifeboats,
Mm-hmm.
and they gave them the wrong information. And look at the effects of that. And the same thing here. I mean, we've already seen situations where what we're trying to say has been silenced. And we're not trying to tell people what to do. We're just giving information.
Right.
It's a sad case. That's what we come to, brother. It is a sad case.
All right. Well, let's move along to something else that has just developed as of yesterday. The United States Supreme Court sided Thursday against California Governor Gavin Newsom's restrictions on worship service during the coronavirus pandemic. Justices tossed out an order from a Central District of California court that had upheld Newsom's restrictions on houses of worship, CBS News reported Thursday. In light of last week's Supreme Court ruling, which guaranteed temporary relief from Governor Andrew Cuomo's coronavirus restriction on houses of worship, the justices sent the dispute back to a lower court for further review. The conservative justices, including Justice Amy Coney Barrett, favored religious organizations in the Thanksgiving 5-4 ruling, while Chief Justice John Roberts sided with the liberal justices again and again. He was supposed to be conservative, but lately he hadn't been too conservative. It was the first time Barrett was a deciding factor as the court's newest justice after replacing the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. The majority said that Cuomo's coronavirus restrictions on religious communities are far more restrictive than any COVID-related regulations that have previously come before the court, much tighter than those adopted by many other jurisdictions hard hit by the pandemic, and far more severe than has been shown to be required to prevent the spread of the virus. Harvest Rock Church and Harvest International Ministries brought the California case to the Supreme Court, arguing that Newsom's restrictions on houses of worship violated the First Amendment, CBS reported. Lawyers for Harvest Rock Church argued that Newsom allowed non-religious businesses or entities to open and gather with few restrictions while restricting houses of worship more severely, according to the publication. For the governor, COVID-19 restrictions are apparently optional and penalty-free, the lawyers argued. But for churches or anyone worshiping in their home with someone who does not live there, COVID-19 restrictions are mandatory and enforced via criminal penalties. Now, this was one of Liberty Counsel's cases. So Matt Staver said this, and I quote, "This ruling by the Supreme Court provides great relief for churches and places of worship. The handwriting is now on the wall. The final days of Governor Newsom's color-coded executive edicts banning worship are numbered and coming to an end. It is time past to end these unconstitutional restrictions on places of worship." I would say, just my opinion, that with these two Supreme Court rulings, it's going to set a precedent.
Yes.
If these two of the most liberal states in the Union, have had rulings by the Supreme Court against them, hopefully other states that are so like-minded will take note of that and back off some.
Yeah.
I don't know whether we could depend on that or not, but hopefully they would take notice to that. There's a church in Maryland. Church was cited after maskless pastor, who's alone in the building, answers the door for a health official. Warnings of closure, fines, and jail time follow. A Pasadena, Maryland church was cited recently after the pastor, who was alone in the building during office hours, answered the church door without wearing a mask for a health department official who was making an unannounced visit, the American Constitutional Rights Union said. The details? After issuing the citation, the Anne Arundel County Department of Health official told the Reverend Dennis Jackman that he would return, and if Community United Methodist Church in Pasadena was not in full compliance with COVID-19 guidance, that the church would be deemed an unsafe facility and closed until the state of emergency has been terminated, unquote.
Oh my goodness! You talk about these churches and stuff. I just, this goes along this. If they can't close a church, they're going to get them for something, some fine thing. There was in Pasadena, Maryland, a church.
This is where I'm talking about.
Oh, about where he answered the door?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead,
All
brother.
right, now we know Brother Bernie's really not listening.
Yes, I am. I just hadn't got there, so thank you, brother.
You just pulled it up on the.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
see, I had it printed out.
Thank you.
I said he's not paying
Why
any
didn't you
attention
tell
to
me?
You didn't listen.
He was telling everybody, and you weren't paying attention.
Thank you. My bad.
All right, the citation also warned of criminal charges and, quote, imprisonment of up to 1 year and or a fine of up to $5,000, the organization noted. Despite the church following all county guidance for services and making an effort to ensure the safety of worshipers. What more can you do when you do everything they tell you to?
And the safety of the worshipers, there was no worship from what I gathered. There were no worshipers in there.
There was no one there except
He was just
the
by
pastor.
himself.
Yes, by himself in a locked building. The building was locked.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's the invisible, universal, invisible church there.
Okay, AC. Ooh, he is getting.
Am I right? That's the invisible, universal, invisible church. Okay, I'm going to get some kickback on that. Hey.
The ACRU president, Lori Roman, took Maryland officials to task. Quote, within the span of a week, Governor Larry Hogan has signed an executive order releasing prisoners, citing COVID, and health departments across the state have been unleashed to threaten and harass pastors and churches.
Oh, my goodness.
The entire country is watching this juxtaposition of principles and priorities. What did the pastor say? All right. Quote, I was in my office alone without a mask on and heard someone at the locked door of the church, Jackman told the ACRU. I was not expecting anyone. So I went to see who was trying to get in the church. Immediately after answering the door, I went to my desk and put on my mask. But the health official seemed intent on finding something worth of a citation. Unquote. The pastor also appeared Tuesday on Fox News' Tucker Carlson Tonight, and the host said the county health department told the program that it had been receiving complaints about the congregation engaging in, quote, handshaking, high fives, and fist bumps, unquote, which Carlson mockingly referred to as illicit worship. Jackson told Carlson he hadn't heard of such complaints, that the church had been taking numerous steps to keep visitors safe, and that he's been preaching his sermons from the back of a truck in the parking lot.
You know what I suspect? I suspect one of those people were a visitor at that church. That's I mean, you know what I'm saying.
Spy, probably.
A spy, exactly. Yeah. What was it I said? I said that that they have ways of getting people in here, and you welcome as a visitor, and actually they're not there for worship.
Well, everyone remembers the church that in Santa Clara, California, I think it was, that Northside Baptist Church, I think it was, where that they went against the county edict, and the last communication that I heard out of there, they were up to $100,000 plus fines and what have you. What happened there was that some county health officials went in there and went to a service and saw it. And then they began to take action. So there were spies in there. The communists used to do that all the time in Russia.
Yeah.
And probably doing it in China too.
They do. They do. It's a well-known fact. They do. But they still preach the gospel. They still meet, irregardless of the fact that they could and often do go to prison for preaching and teaching the gospel.
You're not coming in very loud, brother.
I'm not a loudmouth like you gentlemen.
Oh, my goodness, man.
You two gentlemen use this mic often. I don't, so I turned it down thinking, oh, too loud for this, and then y'all tell me I'm not loud enough.
Yeah.
I'll turn it back to.
We're
Will I
just
keep it on for you
We're
guys?
just gonna call you Mousy. How about that?
I've been called lots of things, but never mousy.
Mousy. Is he a little squeaky voice?
All right.
I lost my squeaky voice a long time ago.
All right.
Oh,
Anything
my.
else? Well, Jackman isn't the first Maryland pastor to square off with local government over church services amid coronavirus restrictions. Back in May, Stacy Shiflett, pastor of Calvary Baptist Church in Dundalk, I guess that's right, Dundalk, read from an intimidating, quote unquote, cease and desist letter he said he received from Baltimore County's Department of Health and Human Services, warning that the church, quote, could be subject to a fine of up to $5,000, end quote, if further in-person services were held in violation of executive orders. Well, Shiflett went right ahead, not only held a Wednesday night service for 100 attendees in a 600-capacity sanctuary, Fox News reported, but he also tore up the cease and desist letter in the middle of his sermon. Quote, Pharaoh doesn't get to dictate to God's people how they worship their God, Shiflett said with a raised voice. God's the one that defines the parameters. God's the one that communicates his will and his plan for his church, not Egypt. Unquote. During that period of time, Reverend Alvin Gwynn, pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church in Baltimore City, had harsh words for Democratic Baltimore Mayor Jack Young, who was keeping the city under a stay-at-home order, even though Governor Hogan said restrictions could be loosened. We've got a mayor saying we can only worship in our parking lots, which is ridiculous, Gwynn said. So, that's another state. Now,
Now, that Maryland location is not far from Baltimore.
no,
They're close. They can't hear you because you're
no, it's not.
very close. I
You-
mean,
You gotta
you're
eat
looking
the
you're
mic,
looking
brother.
you're
You gotta
looking
eat
at
the
the
mic.
difference between Nashville and Smyrna here.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think you've been there before, haven't you?
Baltimore.
They're not far away. I mean,
about
again,
Baltimore, Maryland?
It's a well, Baltimore.
Yeah.
But the other areas looking at, I mean, they're metropolitan area.
Yeah, Baltimore was not very far from. You had I was stationed at Watchprig, Virginia, and then you had Chincoteague, Maryland, and then Baltimore was not very far from there.
Yeah.
We don't allow cussing on this station, you know.
Who, me? What? What'd I say? Baltimore, Maryland? Oh, okay.
No.
Oh, you talking about the Coast Guard? You talking about the
It
Coast
just
Guard?
went right over. It went right over his head.
Well, if you flyboys lose a plane in the water, who do they send? Coast Guard. When the Navy gets stuck out there, who they call? The Coast Guard.
No, you pronounced a city there.
Oh,
I was.
I don't.
picking
I
at
don't
Oh,
know. I
you
don't know
talk
if that. I don't know if that was a city.
are you talking about Chincoteague, Maryland?
Yes, I don't know if that was a city.
Yeah, it is. It's on the Chincoteague Island. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm picking at you, brother.
Yeah, I know that. So
I was talking about it not being a city.
it's a
Sounds
little
like- sounds
island.
like-
It's an island town, is what it is. In other words, they've got a bridge.
A town. That's what I was
Yeah.
talking. It's a
Well,
town.
And the one thing about it is, if you get caught speeding there, they just open the bridge. You can't get out. So, oh yeah. So, I thought, what is there to do around here? We'll just go to Baltimore.
Well, sounds like you better stay home.
That was my home.
Stay on board ship then. No wonder he could pronounce that
Oh, man.
word so well. Here, we thought you were cussing out the.
No.
Oh, boy.
See, that's the reason we don't speak in tongues around here.
Blah, 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 blah.
Okay. Liberty Counsel, on a different subject, and this is something we're still going through, in addition to this coronavirus thing. Last week, in an effort to silence rampant internet rumors, Dominion Voting Systems issued a statement claiming unequivocally that none of their software, servers, or data was held or processed outside the United States. But this week, an entirely different story is coming to light. An affidavit sworn under the penalty of perjury, but yet another former 305th Military Intelligence Battalion service person, which Matt Staver said that he had in hand, that affidavit, shows that Dominion lied. According to sworn testimony, which includes screenshots and data tracking analysis, this cybersecurity expert was able to capture server IDs linked to Dominion voting systems via their tabulation partner, Edison Research. Though the company claims it has no foreign servicers, the evidence shows active servicers in both Serbia and, get this, Iran. But there's another revelation that is of great concern. While many quote-unquote fact checkers have been claiming Dominion Voting Systems has no foreign investment, that too is an outright lie. According to the U.S. Patent Office, China, via HSBC Bank, as the collateral agent, holds the liens on several Dominion software patents, including the patent on election software security.
Yep.
More disturbing revelations about the election are coming to light every day.
Oh, yeah.
Liberty Counsel was deeply involved in the 2000 election and are now similarly involved in the 2020 election. This one, however, is a far more critical because the implications of fraud and malfeasance go far beyond this single election.
Oh, yes.
I think we use the term Big Brother is watching you. Now Big Brother is manipulating you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Well, if that didn't bake the cake.
I think if I'm not mistaken, Rudy Giuliani and his was talking about this.
Yes.
Nobody listened.
Well, have y'all been paying attention? Newsmax? Anybody familiar with Newsmax?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to sit up.
I know.
He doesn't want to, but he's got to.
What?
If
I'm going to say something, I'll get up here.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Our listeners keep telling me that they can't hear you very well, and
Who? Him?
Yes, for him.
He's got to hold the mic, brother.
I know. He's got to get close to it, and then he backs away.
Yeah.
So, Newsmax has been reporting Rudy Giuliani. Now they're telling me they can't hear me. How about this? Can y'all hear me now?
I can hear you.
Hold on a second. Let me turn it up like you guys. All right. Can everybody
See,
hear me?
your voice is so weak that you have to.
Mousy.
See, wait. Woo.
We need T-shirts with
Hold
our.
on a second.
We need to get you a T-shirt that says Mousy on there.
Mouse.
We can't hear you.
Well, Newsmax has been reporting literally testimony in front of the state legislature in all of these battleground states. Georgia, recent, I think it was yesterday or the day before, it was Pennsylvania, where Rudy Giuliani and President Trump's legal team have been presenting video evidence and
Yes.
documentation of fraud,
Yes.
literal fraud. I saw one. It was a clip of it on Facebook yesterday. Yes, it was yesterday. Someone had posted a video from Newsmax of Rudy Giuliani's testimony, and they're showing the video on there of election workers bringing in suitcases
Oh, yes.
full of ballots.
Oh, yes.
I'm sorry, but election ballots don't arrive in suitcases.
No.
Well, here's another thing too. I think it was Michigan when there were 3 different vehicles that pulled up to the place where
Oh,
they're
yes.
counting.
Oh, yes.
And they took in boxes and boxes and cartons of ballots. Well, these vehicles had out-of-state tags. They weren't from Michigan.
Well,
it's amazing. It's amazing. And then on top of it, our Attorney General of the United States, the Federal Attorney General, Mr. Barr, says that there's no proof.
yeah.
Did you hear about that? There's no proof.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And Rudy
like-
Giuliani said there's plenty of proof. He just doesn't want to do the work. He said, I'm calling him lazy because he doesn't want to do the work.
It's called turn a blind eye. Well, I remember back, of course, you're not old enough, when Bill Clinton was coming for his second term, and I was in Belgrade at that time. And what I thought was, I had to scratch my head because if anybody's worked at the polls, and of course we were, it would take probably 30 to 40 minutes to get from Belgrade to West Palm Beach. West Palm Beach was where they would collect the ballots.
And be counted.
Yes. And so I had a chance to work at the polls. I won't anymore, but I learned something, how sneaky things can be. So we lived maybe 5 minutes from the polling booth. I mean, it wasn't very far. I could probably just about walk there, but it'd take about 5 minutes. And so I worked the polls. I never had that opportunity. So the thing was that once they closed the polling area, then they would collect all the ballots. They would be put into a locked container. The sheriff department would run it to West Palm Beach. When I got back home after everything was closed, I get back home 5 minutes later. The new president, Bill Clinton. I thought, wait a minute, all those ballots have not even been counted yet. It's very sneaky how things are done. I mean, that was way back then, and it makes you wonder.
Well, there's another story that's really burning up the internet, and that is a truck driver that is a contractor with the United States Postal System.
Oh, yes.
How that he had a whole truck trailer of ballots
Yes.
that were supposed to go to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and he was told to go on to, let's see, where was it? I forgot the other city now. But anyway, and then the trailer disappeared.
Isn't
And
that
he
something?
said that was
conveniently.
highly unusual because that was the trailer he used all the time.
Conveniently.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of headlines, and some of them are pertinent to the conversation that we've had here this evening. These are just headlines. The deputy governor of Norway's central bank is stepping down immediately after he was found to have ties to China. Hey, we have a man who wants to be the president of our country that is in bed with China as it is.
Oh, my goodness.
He has obtained millions from China. It's been documented. Well, Australia removes kid from parents for wanting to switch sexes. That was another story. UK courts say kids under 16 should not be changing their genders. Well, good for them. Florida Court of Appeals reverses ban on counseling minors for unwanted gay attraction. This was a victory for freedom, for tolerance, for individual rights, and for the therapist-client privilege.
Clinton on your mind.
Yeah. Above all, it was a victory for minors. This has been going on for a long time. And I think it was Florida that had supposedly passed a law that counselors were not allowed to counsel people who came to them wanting to stop being gay. So finally it's been appealed, and the appeals court says, they can counsel them on that. That's a biggie. Another one, COVID app total bust. As it turns out, Americans don't like being tracked. I was reading this article earlier.
Wait. We don't like being tracked, but yet we all have Facebook on our phones.
Not only this, but also
We all have
you get this
Facebook
thing,
on our phones.
How did you enjoy Burger King? I said, what?
We all have Facebook on our phones, and for me, who went to Amazon and purchased an auxiliary cable extension, I get now on Facebook, I get ads for audio stuff because I went to Amazon and bought this,
Yes,
okay? For our
absolutely.
Christmas program coming up, not this Sunday, but the following Sunday. So it's like, we don't like being tracked, but yet we got to have Facebook.
Yeah. Well, there's a spokesman. The Department of Justice state that they are not done investigating election fraud, despite Barr's statement. So maybe we do have some honest people in the Department of Justice after all.
Wait, they're lawyers.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Right. All right. And here's one that stuck out to me. It was totally different, but and I don't know how that they can get away with this. NASDAQ, the stock thing, wants all listed companies to have one female director and LGBTQ plus director.
Now, they can want it. That doesn't mean it's going to happen.
Yeah.
One of our viewers, Brother Dan Curtis, one of our pastors here locally in the state, made a comment on our Facebook page. Said, just went to the library, and I started laughing, and I commented back. Just went to the library and checked out a book for future reference, How to Vote After You're Dead, for Dummies.
Hey, that's good. That ought to sell 1 million copies.
All right, brother. So what's the next book you're going to check out? How to write a sermon when you're dead, too? Is that? No. We already know how to do that. All right, Brother Dan, you're one of those individuals that has a mind that he's been writing songs. He was telling me the other day, talking about some songs, and he sent me some songs that I'm going to have to get on the radio station so we can play them. But he was, I think he's going to be able to actually accomplish this. But Brother Dan, your next project is to write a book, How to Preach a Sermon When You're Dead, for Dummies. And we actually have a broadcast from beyond. Was it Voices from Beyond?
Yes.
Right. Not that way. And this is not a take on that. No, this is, Brother Dan. If they can write a book on how to vote when you're dead for dummies, then there's got to be a book out there on how to preach a sermon.
Hey, brother,
when you're dead for dummies.
When you mention that, I go to work Monday morning, and the guy that works on, he comes in like on Friday. He had already put his time in Thursday, and so the big question we had, does he have a DeLorean? Does he have a time machine? So, Brother Dan, is that for people who have a time machine inside the casket? We'll find out.
He said, Brother Dan says he's got the dummy part already nailed.
We love you, brother. We love you.
I think we all got the dummy part nailed. We just got to figure out the rest of the story there.
Facebook censors us. ISIS uses it to raise money. Facebook censors U.S., but ISIS uses it to raise money. Now, if that isn't. Yeah. All right, and here, I had this already,
How to preach
bro.
a sermon church remembers will remember. All right, Brother Dan, I didn't understand that comment. Maybe I was reading it wrong. How to preach a sermon the church remembers. I don't know how to preach a sermon the church will remember. I can't remember my name half the time.
All right, Biden says he will resign after developing a disease if he and Harris disagree on policy. See, I already had that down.
Here we go. How to preach a sermon church members will remember. Now, that makes sense. I got it.
Is that for a bunch of dummies?
Well, I don't know.
There you go, brother. Right off the shelf.
Politics for dummies.
Well, just a couple of more things here, and we're already over time.
Well, we started late, so
Yeah,
we got a
we
couple
did
of
start
minutes.
But it's
late.
fun. It's been fun. It's been
Fa-
real. It's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. Okay.
Facebook to give lesser punishments for, quote, hate speech against white people than against minorities. According to the new proposals, it's not as wrong to spew hatred towards men, whites, Americans, and Christians than it is to do the same against U.S. minority groups.
We already knew that.
Yeah, we did, didn't we?
I knew that.
All right, and then we're already familiar with this one. YouTube to start warning users that when their comments may be, quote, offensive to others. Well,
Wait, we've already had that happen. We had one of our videos that didn't stay. A comprehensive. There we go. Comprehensive guide to voting for dummies.
For dummies.
The WIT Political Society.
Boy,
And brother, Brother Dan had another comment. He said, "If you start late, end early to make up for it." Brother, I know you're not ending early if you started late. When you start your sermon, I know you're not going to start. You're not going to end late.
Brother, I learned this. If the song service goes over, I'm still going to get my time. So
Absolutely, absolutely.
Brother Dan, we love you, brother.
Hey, he keeps us going. We need to get him. We need to get him in here. And I'll figure out how to do that. Maybe next week or the week after, we can get Brother Dan in virtually.
Oh yeah.
Tie Brother Dan in.
Oh yeah. So
Brother Dan, you and I were talking about. He said if we listen fast, he'll talk fast.
Well, we're going to have to get T-shirts with the names. Yours be Mousy, he'll be the king, and then we got the two old men over here. So.
Let's see, the mouse, the king, and the old farts.
Thing one and thing two. Yeah, thing one and thing two.
okay, well,
man.
we've had a good time here tonight.
Did he hear that?
And
I'm sure he did. He said he could do a Friday anytime. He's married.
oh, it'd be good to have you back on here again.
Oh
brother.
my goodness.
Absolutely. Except we'll get you on. Well, actually, people will actually be able to see your mug shot, instead of just hearing you. We'll figure that out. I'll make that happen.
We might, by the time we get done, we might all have mug shots.
That's true. That's true. That's true. We'll definitely be in Facebook jail or YouTube jail after this broadcast goes on. We've already been warned on YouTube. We might actually get banned. That's all right. We'll have to do another channel. Let's do another channel.
We can do that. Well, it's been good to be with you this evening, and we're glad that everyone has tuned in. And it's good to hear from those who have responded on, what was that, Facebook? Forsyth didn't respond any today. I bet he wasn't able to make it back home and listen to us. But anyway, if he is listening, he'll probably give me a call later on this evening. But it's good to have everybody on and listening to us this evening, and we're glad that you've been here. We're working down to a serious time. I know that there are many who have prayer requests, and even in our church there are many who have some health problems and that are very hindering. And I know that there are many out there who, under the sound of our voices, who have a lot of problems that they're dealing with. Some of them are directly related to the times that we're going through, and some of them are not. But we just ask that you pray for each other. And we're going to begin to close out here, and we're going to ask Pastor Bernie to lead us in prayer before we go.
Father, it has been good to be together with these men. I thank you so much. And I thank you for giving us the opportunities to use this area of technology as a media. I pray that what we have said has not been degrading, but it's been by the truth. Help us to open up our hearts and our minds to what's going on, Father. And I just pray that you'll just give me the strength that I need Sunday morning to present your word in not only a serious way, but that I bring your sermon into a deep depth that we can reach into the soul. I thank you so much for Brother Joe and Jamie and the abilities that they have. And Father, as we prepare to close out those that have prayer requests, I pray you'll touch in a mighty way. Thank you for allowing us to hear from so many that have made statements. I pray that you'll bless them in all that we do and all that we say. May you receive the honor, glory, and praise. And Father, as always, help us to be thankful for things we have and not complainers of things we don't. We ask in the name of Christ, Lord and Savior. Amen.
Amen. And we say good night. I'm Joe Roberts.
I'm Brother Bernie Dixon.
I'm Jamie Roberts.
And Lord willing, we'll see you here next week, same time, same station.